Should ex-convicts be allowed to vote? The Obama administration is teaming up with conservative lawmakers who believe the answer to that question should be yes. Devlin Barrett joins us from Washington, D.C. with the details. Hi, Devlin.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Good. So why is the administration pushing for this change now?
Well, it's part of a broad series of things that the Obama administration wants to do to reform sentencing. Now, the specific issue of should felons be allowed to vote is actually more of a state question than a federal question. So even though these two sides are teaming up, they actually don't have a lot of authority to enforce the change. But it's very interesting how the politics of crime has changed so much that you're now seeing serious liberals and serious serious conservatives agreeing on what should change in the legal system.
There are some strange bedfellows in this, like you say. Tea Party Senators Rand Paul and Mike Lee, they're both on board with these changes. Why is that?
Well, from the libertarian conservative point of view, they argue that this is really a question about family values. There's also an argument that goes on increasingly from Tea Party folks and their supporters that the high rates of imprisonment in the United States are actually costing the government a ton of money. And you can see that in the budget, both on the federal level and the state level. The figures do cost a ton of money. And so for a lot of different reasons, essentially, these two sides are bringing different motives to try to achieve the same thing.
Hinted at this earlier, but I mean, is this part of a bigger shift in how the different political parties look at crime and how crime plays into politics?
I'd say absolutely. I think for 30 years, you know, we've sort of grown up with political campaigns in which Republicans showed they were tough on crime, and many Democrats had to sort of try to inoculate themselves from being accused of being soft on crime. Now you're seeing a very different attitude coming from both parties, which is, you know, let's try to be smart on crime. Let's try to be less costly on crime. And a lot of that's because the crime rates have gone down so much. There is less fear in the general public of crime than there used to be. And that is giving people more political freedom to say, you know what, I think we could do this better, and I think we could do it a little cheaper.
And when we're talking about this, are we talking about giving voting rights to felons who are still in prison, or is this mainly just a push for once they're out?
No, not really. This is about once they're out. The way the law works, there are currently 11 states that prohibit felons to varying degrees from voting after they get out of prison. And Attorney General Eric Holder and some of these conservatives' argument is, look, that's just unfair. And you see it expressed in different ways. For example, in the state of Florida, 1 in 10 people in Florida can't vote because of a prior felony conviction. That is viewed as just simply unfair. And what the Attorney General argues is the data shows that if you let these folks vote, they are actually less likely to commit future crimes because you're bringing them back more into regular society. That's probably something that's still going to get argued about, but you can tell that there is definitely a belief among the folks who want to reform the system that this is sort of an old-fashioned punishment that doesn't really serve much purpose.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Devlin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah.